Hey, 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 welcome, welcome, welcome. Man, I'm so excited to have you a part of today's Wealth Mastermind. Okay. I know y'all enjoyed Kim. Woo, woo. She dropped all kinds of mics in there. The conversation was everything. And I know you were blessed because I definitely was blessed too. Definitely, we're about to do the same thing with my beautiful sister, Najah Roberts. So let me tell you something. This girl is the queen of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, digital assets, and really understanding it, right? We talked a lot about hard assets, the first session. Now we're about to start talking about digital assets, which, by the way, just FYI for the record, I think we absolutely need to have both. You need to have both assets in your portfolio, hands down. Some of you might end up having more hard assets than digital. I don't know, but you listen and you follow your own instinct. But I strongly suggest that you have both of those asset classes in your portfolio in order to really, really develop real long-term wealth. So without further ado, let's bring Najah Roberts to the platform.
Hello. Hey. Thank you for this opportunity, sis.
Absolutely, girl. I'm so glad to have you on here. We always have such amazing, great conversations, and I want to jump right on into it today. You're doing some amazing things in crypto. I was so glad to reconnect with you. Where were we at, child? Were we in Vegas? We was in Vegas,
Artists.
right?
Oh, you talking about artists?
No,
Are you talking?
recently we went to a meeting.
We were on a
We
cruise.
was on a cruise. That's right. We was on a
Yes, we
cruise,
were
child.
on a cruise to the Bahamas. Yes.
Yeah, it was so good to reconnect with you, and I just love hearing what you're doing. Talk a little bit about what you are doing in crypto right now, because you're doing some amazing things.
So I'm just really excited about just all of the fabulous. First of all, I am dealing with and communicating with my community, which I absolutely love. And so, there's a saying that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I spend a lot of time educating our community. So my husband and I own one of the only Bitcoin banks in America where you can actually walk in, buy and sell your Bitcoin. And but you can do it online too. We're one of the only African American woman-owned exchanges as we know it, which you never hear about, of course. But thank you. And so we also have a crypto kids camp where we teach children ages 5 to 17 about emerging technologies. We're teaching blockchain, we're teaching cryptocurrency, we're teaching entrepreneurship, drones, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, all this stuff that our children need to know to stay ahead. That is what we're teaching at Crypto Kids Camp. And then I'm also a co founder in a wallet with actor, philanthropist, father, soon to be politician, Hill Harper. Um, some of you know him from CSI Miami and The Good Doctor. He's Dr. Marcus. So we have a Black Wall Street wallet, which is one of the only Black wallets out there. It is a custody type wallet, which means someone is holding on to your Bitcoin for you. But we're going to talk about that in a little while and why that is just a stepping stone to get to where we need to be. And then I was also privileged last year to be hired by Jay-Z and Jack Dorsey to do the Bitcoin Academy. So I put together that program, and we have teachers that are in New York that are currently doing those things while I'm doing what else I need to do. And so I'm excited about that. And then daily, I'm teaching about cryptocurrency on Tavis Smiley's radio show or station. It is called KBLA Talk 1580. It's an app that you download on your phone as well. And I like to say, how they have comedians and you have the headliner that comes on, but before you have that real comedian that comes up, you got the comedians that are just, they're good, they're mediocre, but then you got your headliner. So I'll just say this, because behind me is DL Hughley. So I'm just the show before the DL Hughley show. So check me out sometime, Monday through Friday.
That is so good, girl. I'm so proud of you. Doing so many things. Where's the Bitcoin Bank? We want to pull up. Where
It
is it?
is. It's in Inglewood, California, which is Los Angeles, California. But the news is I'm manifesting 41 locations across the United States by which our community will be able to come in, buy and sell their cryptocurrency, and really get the education that they need. So we're coming to a hood near you, as I say.
I love that. I love that. That is so cool. I can't wait to come and visit one of the 41 locations. Definitely love what you're doing with Hill. Had Hill at a couple of events last month, or not last month, but last year, and downloaded the app, bought some Bitcoin, and love what you guys are doing there in the crypto space. You're doing a lot. You're working with AI. You got the virtual reality. You helped to develop the Bitcoin Academy for Jay-Z and Jack Dorsey. That was all amazing. And then, of course, you know, one of the main things that I love, Najah, is that you really want to make sure that our people understand what the heck is happening in this digital space. What would you say right now is the number one thing that you want our community to know where cryptocurrency is concerned?
I think the biggest thing is us really understanding kind of where we stand, because a lot of us are sitting back because we're comfortable and we're feeling as if this cryptocurrency thing is something that's fly by night, that is going to be here, not going to be, or just it'll go away. And so I have to say that money is changing. Everything around us is changing. And I think that's why I'm finding myself, and I don't want to say all over the place because we are mastering what we do, but because technology is changing so many things simultaneously, there is an absolute need for us to make sure we have a 360-degree understanding of all the technologies that come, not just with the money, but everything is kind of interwoven. And you can't do one without doing the other to make sure that our community is safe. And that's the biggest thing. So the biggest thing I would say is to know that change is coming, but you have some individuals that are dedicated to making sure that you're understanding. And I know people say, sometimes, Najah, you can't do that, but I am proclaiming that God has told me it is mission over monetization. And so what that means is my community has got to get this information, and what God is going to have for me, he's going to have for me, but you got to understand that everything is changing. This monetary system is changing. In fact, this last couple of weeks, you have started to probably hear things like some words like CBDC, central bank digital currency. That's a digital currency that the government is about to put out. You've also heard something called FedNow, FEDNOW. FedNow is being implemented as you're listening to this. They're looking to see that April, I believe it's going to be, they're launching some stuff April 15th, but July 1st, FedNow will be in full effect. And they're trying to compete with Bitcoin because they're looking at all the reasons why we say that we're in Bitcoin specifically. And they're trying to find things that they can say, oh, you got that, well, we've got this. So we don't need to use that, because they want to still maintain control.
Wow. So FedNow, these things are coming out. What's happening right now with Silicon Valley, FTX collapse, Signature Bank, Swiss? What does all this mean to you? I mean, because they're saying, oh, don't worry about it. The FDIC is going to take care of it. You guys, this is not going to spread. This is not going to keep going. It's okay, which I really want to encourage people, think for yourself. Just because you hear a news report telling you, don't worry or chill out, it's not a big deal. I think it's a very big deal. And I think it's something we all need to really be paying attention to, because there definitely seems to be a liquidity issue where cash is concerned globally. You know what I mean? I'm looking at all kinds
globally.
It's globally. There definitely seems to be a squeeze where liquidity is concerned across the board. And I always remember this, if people are losing, I literally just got off the phone with someone who had $15 million in Silicon Valley, gone. Their business is just completely like paused. Meanwhile, they're saying the FDIC is going to take care of it. First of all, the FDIC is only responsible for technically taking care of up to $250,000. And if there's an FDIC rule, because they're doing too many bailouts, there's not going to even be a $250,000 payout. So what would you say to, kind of explain your state of the address where banking is concerned across the board?
So you asked a whole bunch of, you said a whole bunch of statements, and there's like 15 different scenarios in each one of those. So first and
Yeah.
foremost, let's deal with FDIC. On November 9th, fact check, all of you Wealth Mastermind fabulous people, go to Google November 9th, 2022, FDIC Systematic Advisory Meeting. And in that meeting, you will hear FDIC say with their own mouths that they do not have enough money to bail out any banks whatsoever. They're in a deficit. But not only that, ladies and gentlemen, in this meeting, if you watch the boring meeting long enough, you will hear the president of the FDIC say, what are we going to do to share with the American people that we're about to utilize the bail-in system? The bail-in system is taking our money to make the banks solvent. He says this, and then with his own lips, and again, you can see it. You don't have to trust me. Verify it. He says the American people trust the banks more than any of us in this room, and he giggles, and they all laugh. That is who you're expecting to insure the banks. The people that told you they didn't have the money, and then they're laughing about the fact that the American people trust the banks more than they do in that room. And then we have all these subsequent bank failures. And then the FDIC, as we see, not being able to cover it because now you got Chase coming in to give some money. You got the government coming in to give some money. It's all these things that are happening because they're trying not to create a public panic because they don't want to create runs on all of the banks. So what is a bank run? So you all understand. The reason they don't have the liquidity, let's kind of back up. I tell you that you asked a couple of questions. I'm going to try to answer them quickly. The reason there is a deficit in the amount of money that the bank actually have that you have put in is because they take our money and they invest it. They invested in treasury and T-bills, those sorts of things. However, when the interest rates are raised, the bonds lose money and they have to sell those bonds at a discount. So if the banks are selling their bonds at a discount, that means they did not make the money they thought they were going to make. And our money has been lost because they're selling at a loss. So there's no getting any money back because they're losing because the interest rates have really messed with the bonds. Now, the difference between the feds, which is not a federal entity. The Federal Reserve Bank is not a federal entity. It is no more federal than Federal Express. It's a private institution. So the feds, which is where Jerome Powell, you'll hear his name, he's raising interest rates. The government, and when he raises interest rates, he wants us to stop spending so they can get ahead of inflation. But the government needs us to spend because they get all of their money from our taxes. Or when we buy luxury homes or cars or all the things that we buy, that tax money goes to the government. But Jerome Powell is stopping the spending so he can get the interest rates right so those bonds will work so they make all that money. And then on the other hand, our government needs us to spend because they use our tax money to pay. That's what we have in our treasury. But that's going bankrupt because the interest rates are so high and people have stopped buying all those big type of items and things of that sort. So they're tugging and pulling back and forth and we're in the middle. And so what does that look like for us? Where do we need to be? What do we need to be doing? First and foremost, Dr. Tankard, you said that phenomenally. You have got to figure out something else to do. We're in the middle and our money is in the banks and the banks are losing money. The banks are losing on mutual funds. Things like 401ks are going to see a big hit. What do we do here in the middle? We get ourselves safe. And anytime like this, we need to be in assets, not that are depreciating, but assets that are used as store of value. And so what might I say? Even though I'm a I love Bitcoin. And the majority of my portfolio is in Bitcoin. However, you have got to be diversified. I am not a financial advisor anymore on purpose, but diversification is going to be key. So what do I say? Add Bitcoin specifically to your portfolio. That's number one. You talked about how hard, you and the young lady talked about hard assets in the last session. But I will say to you, there is a specific gold that you need to have and hold as well, because
Yeah.
gold is being used as a store of value. And that particular gold that you actually get is based on what your plans are in the very near future, which then leads into, I am saying to our community that cryptocurrency is going to be the catalyst to help us get on the other side of money, because the middle class is disappearing. So you're going to need some crypto, you're going to need some Bitcoin, you're going to need some of these hard assets. But if some of these other hard assets are based on the dollar, then you have another problem, because you ask about the collapse. The collapse is due to the money we have being devalued. It's not backed by gold. It is also a problem where the other countries around the world that are used to buying our dollar, we make a $100 bill for 17 cents. We sell it in China for $100. China has said no more. We're not buying it. So when other countries start to say your money means nothing to us because we now have Bitcoin or our own central bank digital currency, the United States dollar loses its value. And then we're going to be, unfortunately, I feel like some of the hard assets we're going to be stuck with, because of the fact that if that dollar devalues the way it looks like it's starting to, more and more, we're going to be in a situation where we've got to be able to be liquid and be able to grab what we need to get where we need to go in the event we need to move in a nimble fashion. And I'm telling our community, this ain't just about crypto. This is about being able to move quickly and really get it going when we need to, but be financially sound.
So good. It's crazy because you didn't hear what Kim and I was talking about. She talked about the bail-in. We talked about definitely asset favorites, gold, silver, saving that more than you're saving cash, being careful about how much money you keep in the bank. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't keep more than 250,000, because even the FDIC, they can't even though they're supposed to be able to do that. Like you said, the only reason everybody's saying it's okay, is they don't want a bank run. Too many bank runs, too many FDIC runs, then there's no money at all. But what I want people to understand is that even when we see that there's supposed losses, money never evaporates. It never leaves the earth. It's simply transferred. So now this is why it's important. It's just being transferred. It's important to get into, coffee beans, cotton, like commodities, oil. Like these are the things that we are going to have to really pay attention to. And I was telling her how, sometimes women can be like, just, oh, I don't worry about that. And it's fine. And oh my gosh, and my husband. And I'm like, girl, get your head up out of the sand, start asking some questions, start figuring it out, because 77% of women are the ones, if something was to happen, not always that he's a bad man, maybe God forbid he gets sick or dies, or God forbid, whatever. Now you're sitting there and your whole lifestyle changes because you had your head in the sand and you were just skipping around the lilies when you should have been asking questions, because whether you have wealth is just options, right? Wealth means that I get to choose what I want to eat, what I want to eat, where I can go, where I don't want to go, live where I want to live. It basically isn't put you in a position, and your family, the people that you love, in a position to be able to have yourself around the best. And I like the last thing you said. The whole goal is you got to be prepared to strike. In 2016, 17, I was buying houses every single week in Detroit because they were just, the opportunity was crazy. You know what? We're back there again. We're back there now. We're having conversations with, we have a whole, real estate educational platform. We're getting people credit funding with Bernicia, who owns the bank, sister. I mean, when I say we making moves out here and I'm saying, hey, let's buy this block, let's buy that block, let's buy this commercial property, let's buy this apartment building, get yourself set up so that when this squeeze continues to happen, because I think what we're seeing is going to continue. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, stop, because now I'm hearing JP Morgan and, and Wells Fargo could possibly be next. So I think, like you said, Bitcoin aggressively, real estate, and other hard assets are things that we need to, definitely be looking at. And Najah, we're not saying don't keep cash. We're not, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying when you start talking about how do I secure my future? How do I secure it? Then we're just saying that these are the things that you need to be, top heavy in your asset column, and not so focused on spending, being a consumer, but really looking at the asset column in a whole nother level.
Really, and I have to say, even with $250,000, and I know as crazy as this sounds, the bank hasn't given you anything on it anyway. If you got $10 last year from having $250,000 sitting in the bank, I'd be shocked. So why not withdraw that and make sure that you have that at your disposal instead of letting something collapse and being given a certificate for them to pay you when they get the money back from the assets that they sell? It makes no sense at this point. You're leaving your money in the bank because why? They've never given us anything. They've never. We left $100,000 in the bank as an experiment one year. We got a whopping $5. What in the world am I giving you my $100,000 for? So we just decided we're not banking. I'm banking because I pay my house note. I'm banking because I pay my car note, but I put that money in my bank account when it's time for those things to be withdrawn out. I'm not taking chances. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have an opportunity to lose money. We don't have any more time to lose money. You don't have any time to buy cryptocurrencies that are going to fold on you. You don't have time to leave your Bitcoin or cryptocurrency on exchanges because you don't own it. They own it. You just bought groceries and left them at the grocery store. That's what you did. And you're letting everybody else eat while you at home starving. And then when you figure out to go get it, then they got to figure out how to pay you and get it back to you so they can give you your groceries to take home. That's what the scenario is when we go and we leave our money with JP Morgan and Wells Fargo and Fifth Third. They are eating well off our money. And we need to be the ones eating well off of our money. And we've got to do something different than we've done in the past. So we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And when you look at, go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
When you look at JP Morgan, you said something about JP Morgan maybe next. JP Morgan right now is touting itself as the number one bank that has all the money out there because they just sent, I believe it was $30 billion they gave to help bail out Silicon Valley Bank. But I need you all to look at the record that in 2020, get my facts straight, 2020, the banks took $30 billion in non-sufficient fund fees from Black and brown people that didn't have the money in the first place. So where they got that bailout money from? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? They got it from us. Those communities that unfortunately sometimes you got a mother that needs to feed her kids, she'll go to the grocery store on Friday and pay that extra $35 because she needs groceries to hold her over. That's where they got that money from. They didn't just, oh my goodness, we got all this money. No, research how much money they got in NSF fees, which is right now why they feel so darn bad and they're trying to say, oh, well, if you overdraft and it's under 50, we'll give you a day or so to get your money in it because they know they backsides was wrong for doing our communities like that.
Oh, the thing about how many people in our community always in overdraft?
Always. And we paid the bank. So yeah, they got 30 billion to give because they took it from us.
Okay, so
they need to be giving it.
They need to be giving it to us. But this is the other thing. So JP Morgan gives $30 million to Silicon Valley. A billion. But I haven't heard be with the billion. You're absolutely right. But I haven't heard any of those people who got their accounts wiped out. I haven't heard them getting their money back.
Neither have I. And several of them are clients. So what they stated, and very quietly on that last Sunday before last, they stated that they would have access to 250,000 and the FDIC was issuing a certificate. Go to their website and read what they actually say because the FDIC tells you on the front page, all depositors will be given that 250 available. But after that, the rest will be given in a certificate. But I'm also watching some of the companies that we deal with say, as soon as that money is available, we're moving to this bank. And so there's still people ain't staying over there because they got bailed out. They're moving and moving stuff around. And this thing is going to get worse before it gets better. As you said, we're watching a bunch of things, ladies and gentlemen, unfold. You're watching in France. They're taking to the streets. They changed their retirement plan from 62 to 64. Don't seem like a big deal, but let me tell you what the underlying issue is. They're changing it because they don't have money for their retirement. Get a news flash. We're losing money in this country. Stocks are losing, 401ks are losing. Remember in 2008, 2009, and I don't know how we get amnesia. People had to retire at that time with 50% of their 401k portfolio. We're at that place again. Same thing Dr. Jewel just said. We're there. So be careful what you're actually pushing all of your money into. It's scary times. I know it is, but God has got us. We just need to watch the warning signs. We need to look, and I tell my listeners all the time on the radio, we need to look at the macro and say, now, how does this affect us? Because so many times we say, oh, Russia and Ukraine is at war. That ain't got nothing to do with me. No, it doesn't. You don't have to take sides, but you got to know that war costs money. War causes people to stop being able to import and export and all the things that we need. So what is it we're going to need that Russia has been selling to the United States? What are we going to need that China, who has now joined Russia, what do we need? Everything we got, everything we look at says made in China. So maybe that should be telling you that we got some issues coming up because America produces nothing. So this ain't just about Bitcoin. However, how Bitcoin ties into that is Russia is using Bitcoin as their legal tender because the United States United States says stop it, or we're going to take our dollar, and they like keep it because we got something for you. And that's what's happening. China is now moving over there with Russia. Do you think that they're going to continue? And they put out this whole document about why they hate the United States. This was just a couple weeks ago. And if you read it, it says you are bullies in this world order. That's what they said. And right below that, your $100 bill costs 17 cents, and you're selling it to us for $100 and no more. So what does that mean for the price or the worth of our paper dollar? It's very interesting.
It's very low. So we see these moves that are happening, which is why I think that everybody needs to be, on auto save with Bitcoin. And I like Ethereum as well, definitely Bitcoin. And we don't need to, even though we don't need to keep a lot of cash in our banks, we don't need to keep our crypto on non-custodial exchanges either. I mean, honestly,
you do need to be on non-custodial, not custodial.
Yeah, you can use the custodial to buy, but you need to move it to non-custodial. And then I would say, because of what I just dealt with, you better put that stuff on a ledger.
Yes.
Right? Large amounts. I mean, keep a small amount. Or something, on Coinbase. Let's talk about what's happening with a lot of these cryptocurrency exchanges that, used to be a time you could buy 10,000, move 10,000. Now I'd be like, you can buy it, but you ain't gonna move it right now. You got to wait a couple weeks. Or you got to wait a couple
they're using it. Dr. Jewel, they're using your Bitcoin and using your money to do what they want to do, which is why FTX failed. He was doing everything he wanted to do because they had never educated the users to get your Bitcoin. So you will buy your Bitcoin, which again is buying your food at the grocery store and leaving it there for them to eat off. So the same thing that they did in banking, he brought into this space. Coinbase does the same thing. So does Binance. So does all of them. Gemini. So what we do as an exchange, you buy your Bitcoin, we give it to you day one. I don't care if it's $250,000 that you buy in Bitcoin, you get it day one, because this space is about self-sovereignty. We don't need
That's a
to
big
hold it. We
deal.
don't need to make money off your Bitcoin.
That's a big deal. So what do they need to download? Because they need to be using your exchange.
So they have to do what's called a KYC. KYC means know your customer. We got to know you're not a terrorist or a money launderer. So you would need to go to our website, do your KYC, and then you'll be emailed instructions from there. We have staff that's there for you. We offer black glove service. Our community has somebody you can talk to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whenever there's an issue, we deal directly with you. Ain't no bump back and forth emailing. Don't go to our website and deal with a chat bot. We can do that because we don't have issues, because we're not holding anybody's Bitcoin. These companies are having all these backups and customer service because Bitcoin is missing from everywhere. They got employees stealing it. They got hackers stealing it. They're stealing it. All kinds of things are happening, but we don't have that influx of calls because we do what's right from the beginning. It makes it so simple to do business in this space, and nobody else is doing it like this.
Nobody else is doing it, which is why I want them to download Black Wall Street and buy your crypto from there. What do you think is going to happen with, I mean, do you think Coinbase, Binance, Gemini, who are all, kind of played with the idea of possibly having to file bankrupt and go out of business? Do you think they're going to make it? I mean, the Winklevoss twins, who owns Gemini, I've been kind of tracking them and watching them, and I'm like, they're in a little bit of trouble financially with Gemini.
They are.
A lot of these guys just over leveraged when it was good, just over leveraged and started loaning out too much Bitcoin, maybe spending too much, and now the squeeze is here.
Yes. So to answer your question, I think a lot more exchanges are going to go down. A lot of the ones, like a lot of our community they like to hear the word, get in this coin because it's going to be just like Bitcoin or do better than Bitcoin. And you have to get into all these offshoot exchanges. Most of them exchanges are going to disappear with your coin if you haven't pulled it off. I do want to say this about the Black Wall Street wallet. The Black Wall Street wallet is a custodial wallet. We use the same custodian that Coinbase uses, that Gemini uses. So if that custodian goes down, which again, nothing is guaranteed. If that custodian goes down, then that's going to pull the Black Wall Street wallet down, Coinbase, everybody else around it. It's a trustee and it's a custodian. So that's where your Bitcoin is held. With my exchange, we don't have a custodian. We hold the Bitcoin and then we give you your Bitcoin. So there's no middleman. And there's a middleman with the Black Wall Street. And I just want to make sure I'm clear so that everybody understands the difference. So those of us that have my exchange, crypto blockchain plug, is the only exchange in the world that you buy your Bitcoin, we give it to you immediately. Every other exchange has a custodial account with the likes of these companies that hold the Bitcoin safe and secure for everybody. But because you don't own it, they can go in and borrow and move it around like they want because the account is theirs, not yours. And so if that custodian has an issue, we all have an issue. But before that, if people do this same thing that they're doing with the banks, go and start pulling your Bitcoin off, that's going to cause those companies to collapse because they've done other things with your Bitcoin. So you're talking about a bank run, we're talking about a crypto run. Crypto runs can absolutely happen, which is why on January 3rd of every year, we had something where we were telling people to proof up. That meant go to the exchange and pull those millions of dollars off in Bitcoin to make sure they still have your Bitcoin. But why do that when you should have it yourself? But for people that were lazy and they just want to leave it there, that's what we would tell them. You need to proof up. Make them proof up that they have your Bitcoin because you don't know, because they own it, because they hold it. You just gave them the money to buy it, is what you did.
Najah, this has been so good. And this is why I say, wealth community is everything. I would not want to be investing in business at all without having the right relationships, because so much of you coming into your destiny, growing in your destiny, is really based on your relationships. Your destiny moves at the speed of your relationships. And so you coming on here today and really giving a lot of insight and tea. And it's crazy because you would have thought we were all kind of had a conversation, but we really did not at all.
Right. I didn't know.
We didn't know a lot of the same things. And so I hope, as those of you that have been tuning in and taking notes, you're kind of hearing some of the same things. I want to ask you about risk, because I know a lot of times people, they want to move out, they want to be bosses, but then it's like, woo, the risk. And we got to get ready to wrap here in just a couple minutes. So what would you say about taking risks? Because I think taking calculated risk are very, very important to learning and to growing. So what's your thought on taking risk?
I believe right now in this. This is a time that we've never experienced before. We have got to take a risk, because there are no options. You don't have options, ladies and gentlemen. I am telling you that the sky is on fire. I'll just say it that way. We have got to take some risks. If we don't, we're going to continue getting what we've gotten, and that's nowhere. And there are outliers. There are several outliers where people have, but we're talking about for the just everyday, go to work, come home, because you went to school, got a good job and have a good education. You've got to take some risks, because this is our time. And if we don't do this thing right, we are going to be left behind forever. Money is changing. You got to get on the other side of it.
Yeah, bless you. Yeah, no, you're right. We got to get on the other side. Listen, thank you guys so much for joining today. Najah, thank you, girl. This is so much fun. I love playing with you and talking to you. Always so much great confirmation and insight across the board. So thank you so much for joining. And I will be in touch, because we're going to keep doing some great things later on in the year. So thanks for joining. Those of you that are on right now, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for jumping in here. I want to encourage you, join the wealth community. Get involved in this wealth community. Get involved and say, okay, you know what? I'm connecting because I'm going to grow. I'm not going to be caught, being negligent, slacking. Let me get up on my business and my investing game. Let me get myself prepared, because I really do think we're headed for the greatest wealth transfer that the world has ever seen. And so, but we got to get in position. You got to do your research, and then you got to take action. You got to implement. So thanks again so much for joining. You guys have a great time, and we will see you next week right back here with my girl Bernicia Watson Poole, bank owner.